great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there.
As you can see, the title is Got Gratitude. I thought that was kind of a catchy thing because I've learned that every single day, the first thing I do is I take a big drink of water, big glass of water, and I feel like I'm drinking gratitude for this life. And if there's anything I hope you guys take away from today from what I'm saying is to just think about what gratitude means for our community, our earth, our animals, people, and what we're doing to this planet. I do get a fancy title of National Geographic Explorer, and really that's the result of my grandmother asking me to ask myself, why ration passion? And it's been a very powerful thing from my grandmother Bertha that you're going to hear about her in just a little bit. Something I've learned from these expeditions, going on over 80 expeditions now around the world, mainly to untouched, unclimbed, virgin earth, is there's two ways that I experience an expedition, and I've taken that as a common parallel situation to everyday life. And those two ways, the first way is joy. We all seek and experience joy with our family, our friends, our planet, and just pursuing joy is such a wonderful thing. What is there without joy? The second way, aside from joy, is what I call pre-joy. And those moments of pre-joy are something like this right here when it's minus 67 degrees. You're homesick, you're freezing, you're going, what am I doing out here? But if you think about it, pre-joy still has the word joy in it. So we're always living a form of joy if you think about it. So those tough times with your relationships, you're sick, your family, there's tragedy. If we think about that as pre-joy, we know the real joy is coming. Of course, mostly joy has been the pursuit of traveling around the world to these amazing, beautiful places. And it's really an honor and privilege to be on this planet and be alive. I wanted to show you guys just a quick video of some of my friends made this video, by the way, and it'll give you an idea of what we do out there. This is Libecki checking in. Absolutely loving life here on the border of China and Kyrgyzstan.
It's definitely an age-old tradition. Explorers wanting to go on those blank places on the map.
Some beautiful unclimbed rock behind me here.
The greatest opportunities for exploration these days are in the vertical realm. And Mike Libecki is the foremost exploratory climber of our age.
This is expedition number 50, halfway point to the goal of 100 expeditions. Life is sweet, the time is now. We'll talk to you soon.
The American Alpine Journal documents the most significant climbs all over the world. Mike appears every year because he is always going to incredibly remote places and finding things that nobody's ever seen before.
82 degrees north, right on top of the globe.
Most of our athletes go on one, maybe two big trips a year. Libecki goes on like 4, 5, 6 expeditions a year.
Mike does a ton of research to try to find the last corners of the earth that are completely unexplored.
He is obsessed. He needs that summit.
He'll go down to Antarctica, he'll hit the tropics, rainforest, above the Arctic Circle, somewhere potentially unstable politically, like Afghanistan. Let's go to Yemen. You want to go climbing in Yemen?
Let's go to the weirdest hole on the side of some crazy mountain range and climb some rock.
It's just rotten choss.
And it'll be awesome.
One of the coldest dumps ever taken by man!
He has this unwavering psyche no matter what the situation.
Life is sweet!
Sweetness of life, sweetness of bugs.
At the point where any other person would break down and crumble and go home and cry to mommy, Libecki is hitting his stride.
Life is sweet!
Mike has climbing partners, but most of the time, he's just alone.
Half of Mike's expeditions have been solo.
But being alone in those intense environments makes you a little bit crazy. He's not crazy, but he's definitely a little bit crazy.
Greetings, northern earthlings. There's the earth flowing. We're on the bottom cap.
just standing upside down right now, loving life.
He has his own expedition language. These weird catchphrases.
The time is now, life is sweet. Death and or old age is coming.
The time is now, life is sweet. Why ration passion? Loving life.
A lot of people quote the Dalai Lama or, Gandhi at the end of an email. Mike Libecki quotes himself.
Loving life.
And he has a real affinity for wearing weird animal masks.
On the summit, and they'll pull out this crazy mask.
Honestly, I have no idea what the story is with those plastic masks.
Whatever year of the Chinese calendar it is. Year of the ram, year of the dragon, year of the rabbit, whatever it is.
I think Mike Libecki is a total enigma.
What's this guy all about? Who is the man behind the mask?
Thanks. It's interesting to see what your peers and community think of you, but they did say to keep this PG-13, and I'm doing my best here. Those masks, the reason I do that, and that's been over 20 years now on all the expeditions, is it reminds me to laugh at life, to not take life too serious, and it ultimately brings me to gratitude for this life. And I think that if we can take that example and remember that let's just laugh at life here. Let's not take it too serious. Let's do our best. Let's have integrity. But we got to laugh because it's all going to end. I have a lot of gratitude for my grandparents and my great-grandparents. And I hope that if you have great-grandparents or grandparents or parents, you'll ask them questions about their life. Ask them what they've learned about their life, and you can take those on and pass them on to your generations. It's been the most powerful thing for me to learn from my grandparents. This is my grandfather, Harold. He grew up in North Dakota with 13 brothers and sisters on a farm. And if they didn't farm, they didn't eat. He saw a picture of Half Dome in Yosemite National Park, which most of you have been there or seen. And in 1936, when he was 14 years old, he saw that picture and he ran away from home. He hitchhiked, took trains, got his way across the country, lied about his age in Yosemite, and got on the Conservation Corps. Thanks to him moving to Yosemite, that's where I grew up and found the passion of climbing and adventure. So thanks, Grandpa Harold. This is my grandmother, Bertha, so Harold and Bertha. And I was a mathematician in school. Math and physics was something I really loved. I started competing in math in second grade. And when I started going to college for math, I just didn't have the organic enthusiasm for it. And I went to my grandmother and I said, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm good at math, but I just don't love it. And she said, Mike, the time is now. What do you want to do? And that very day, I dropped out of college, and I moved to Yosemite, and I started climbing full-time, and 25 plus years later has taken me on a world and life of adventure and gratitude. On these adventures, I've got to experience some really beautiful moments and some really horrific moments as well. This is a picture I took while paddleboarding with polar bears in Greenland, taking samples for microplastics of the ocean, and just became enchanted with polar bears. And how can you not? I mean, this is a majestic, magical, powerful example of our reality. You can notice the polar bear doesn't look very happy. It's like, what are you doing here, disrupting our lives? And what we're doing out here when we're taking pictures of polar bears is we're trying to be a voice for them, capture their imagery, and maybe you can see them and think, how can we help this planet? As an example, how can we help polar bears? This particular area of polar bears in Greenland, we took 19 samples of water coming off of glaciers out of the ocean. 90% of the water samples we took had evidence of microplastics in one of the most remote, pristine places in the world. And just an example of, we're all guilty of it. If you wash clothes and that water drains out of your washer, those microplastics are going into our environment. So we're all guilty of it. I won't get too much into that. We just need to start thinking about what we're doing. This is a photo that a friend of mine took on a trip with National Geographic. Andy Mann, great photographer. And you might say, well, you're out there disrupting their environment. You know, you're in their faces. But we're actually getting out there as fast as we can, getting images and bringing them back so we can say, hey, we can be a voice for these amazing, beautiful animals. And it's worth the risk going out there and being with these animals. And it's such a moment of now. And again, just magic and power and beauty. Now, this polar bear doesn't look very happy either and looks quite like he's in fear. Unfortunately, I watched this polar bear get shot and murdered that day. And it was just changed my life. This was 20 years ago. And since then, I've seen 2 other polar bears shot and murdered in front of me, just on coincidence trips, and they were trophy hunting. There's only about 20,000 polar bears left, roughly, from what sources say. Last year, there were over 600 polar bears shot and murdered. I'm trying to keep it PG-13, and I will, but there is no effing reason for polar bears or any majestic animal to be shot and killed, especially for trophy hunting. I mean, in today's day and age, this is ridiculous. And it's emotional. And I hope that you guys can feel a little bit of that emotion, because what's more powerful than human emotion? And maybe you'll go and do your part to see what you can do to help stop trophy hunting and make this planet a better place. I want to shift gears really quick to my daughter, who is the biggest inspiration of my life. And she's been traveling the world with me. She's 15 years old now and has been to 28 countries, all 7 continents. She's been on 7 major expeditions. And 12 years old, she started a nonprofit called the Joyneering Fund, a 501c3, to give back to the planet. And she's saying, Dad, these adventures are pretty cool, but what are you doing to give back? What's the give back environmentally, humanitarian work? And it really woke me up. And so I wanted to just show you guys a short video of some of the stuff that she's inspired.
We don't get to choose where we're born or what we're born as. But we can choose what we do with the time we have in this world. I started asking myself the question, what can I do to give back to humanity, to the animals, to this planet? Because we're all in this together, and in a way, we're all one big family that calls this planet our home.
If you're not giving back, then you're not doing your part. You cannot be an explorer or an outdoors person unless you are also giving back to this planet. That is a prerequisite as a human.
One thing is, I think the most important thing in a life is really a family. Family where you can lean on. Family where you can share your challenges, your difficulties, your joy. And family where you can trust is the foundation of our life. There are so many orphans in this region. So many children are hopeless. Jamse Gatsal is a place of transformation.
All of the children who are at Jamse Gatsal come from backgrounds of trauma, or they come from a background of loss in their young lives before they came to the community.
If you give love and you try to understand what a person's going through, you're compassionate to them, that will help them come out of the tragedies that they have faced in their life or whatever trauma it is that they're going through.
We're in a very, very remote area of India. From the nearest airport, you have to travel 17 hours to get into this village.
Given where we are located, sustainability is very, very important.
There would be times when there would be no electricity for 3 or 4 days.
For education, we need computers. Technology will allow those who want to go out into the world to get college educations.
We need solar, computers, and internet. It's one of the maybe biggest obstacles for our learning, for our health, for our life, and everything.
We're actually setting up the infrastructure, power, solar systems, the computers themselves, the networking systems for these students to be computer literate and for kids to be able to get into college.
Literally every aspect of life is impacted by the internet. It affects every aspect of life.
We're bringing technology and opening the minds of children who haven't had this opportunity in the past. The majority of them are actually seeing a computer for the first time.
If you don't have education, I don't think you are able to necessarily break the circle of poverty.
The computers will prepare them for life beyond Jamse Gatsal.
Solar panels, battery systems, and lighting. Light means life in a lot of these communities.
When you don't have a light, what happens is your life becomes very short.
When we give to a community, I'm also receiving. It's in those moments that you're part of something greater than yourself.
Projects like these, they fuel a fire inside of you to be a better person, do good, be kind, live your life in a way that is helping others.
Humanitarian work is important because of the way that we are changing the world. It's not just the communities in and of themselves. We can all do better to give back. one thing differently a day can change the entire world.
My family is the Joy Fund. From music to solar panels to computers, we bring joy.
There's no way we can start our day and spend our day and end our day without gratitude.
If we all work to make the lives of others a little better, I believe we can change the world. I want to inspire people to think that it's normal to give back, especially people my age. We are the future, and as we grow up, we should be thinking that it's normal to be kind and do good for this planet.
So I'm a very proud dad, not only as dad to a daughter, but as my partner in trying to give back to the world. And I just want to give you guys a couple of her quotes that are very inspiring to me. And, in a world where we can be and do anything, be kind and do good. And she recently said, as she was speaking at National Geographic, we may not change the world doing our own part, but we might change their world with our part. It's pretty powerful stuff. And the nonprofit that she started is the Joyneering Fund, and if you think about it as like mountaineering or engineering, it's the act of creating and building and doing something that brings joy to the world. And I hope you guys can take that away with you. And when I was asked to do this, I was also told that not to get political today. And I'm not going to get political. I'm just going to give an opinion that I hope our world leaders will command and demand billions of dollars for the homeless, for the hungry, for animals, for Alzheimer's research, for those that need it to advance humans to comfort levels and health that we really need. And if you guys forgot, thank you very much, and gratitude for our community. Thank you.